homeless, aimless, helpless. Every year, thousands of new refugees hit the road in search of a new home. Wars caused most of it in the distant past. Not anymore. Today, development has replaced war. Displaced by some new dam or mine or an industrial hub, the people are called the necessary casualty. Eventually, when the new ventures are completed and celebrated, nobody will even remember them. They just vanish from memory. It's known that the people accepted the onslaught of what is known as development. Everywhere in the world, there has been struggles, but most of them fail. They can never match the money and muscle power behind the big projects. Only sometimes miracles happen. This is the 30th anniversary of such a miracle, and I'm going to tell you that story. Welcome to the Money Tree. Please like, comment and subscribe to our channel. The year was 1993. A struggle was gaining momentum in India. On the banks of Narmada River in North India, tribals were protesting against a chain of dams that will soon submerge their homes. The World Bank was one of the funders. Led by the social activist Mehta Patkar, they brought the fight to the doorsteps of the World Bank. The bank was forced to conduct an independent study. And in 1993, convinced of the impending disaster, the World Bank withdrew from the project. It was a watershed movement in the history of international financial institutions. Till then, they relied on whatever the government said about the projects. Well, not anymore. The importance of an independent redressal mechanism was understood. Thus started the World Bank's inspection panel. The panel will work as a fact-finding body independent of the World Bank management. It has 3 panel members and a permanent secretariat. The panel receives complaints from communities and the representatives about harm and potential harm caused by World Bank funded projects. It can range from complex and diverse social and environmental issues to lack of consultation and participation among those affected by the new project. The panel investigates the alleged harm, and the findings are directly reported to the World Bank management. The bank will review its funding commitment to the project on the basis of the report. 30 years have passed. Did the inspection panel make any impact? The panel of the World Bank has triggered similar mechanisms in other international funding institutions. Well and good. The World Bank claims that its inspection panel caught many atrocities red-handed on the environment and people, even gender-based violence. One was from a village in western Uganda in 2015. A road project funded by the World Bank was alleged to be causing sexual abuse of young children. Workers who came from other places were the accused. Many kids had left school, some became pregnant, and few even got infected by HIV. The inspection panel found the allegations to be true. The bank failed in implementing its own policies and procedures that included inadequately assessing and mitigating the impact of an influx of workers from outside. The World Bank suspended funding the project and later cancelled it. How many projects have been investigated by the inspection panel so far? How many projects were denied funding as a result? While the World Bank documents have an extensive list, many are under investigation also. But in India, from where the whole storm began, nothing much has happened. Take the example of Vishnugarh Pipalkoti hydroelectric project in Uttarakhand. The Alaganda River is partially diverted from the project. The locals complained about the potential impacts of the project on local water sources, biodiversity, livelihood and health. An inquiry was initiated by the World Bank. Inspection panel's initial report found out that the bank did not comply with its own policies and procedures. There were no plans for the possibility of water sources drying up and the resettlement-related impacts on the local hamlet. Also, the panel noted the importance of ensuring women's access to community forests and attention to their safety due to influx of a large male labor force. This report came 1 decade back, but the project still goes on with the World Bank funding, and local communities allege that no substantial change has happened in the ground. Why is that?
Independent accountability mechanisms do not have any decision-making powers. They investigate the project, look at what is happening on ground, but ultimately it goes back to the board and the management who will determine the veracity of the report, who will determine the course of action as to what the remedial action plan should look like. The monitoring is left to the clients. So I think a lot needs to be sorted out. In India, actually, there have not been many cases where they have actually exited.
The Tata's Mundra power plant in Gujarat, which caused devastating effects on the local fishermen, tells another story. The private lending arm of the World Bank, the International Financial Corporation, was the funders. The fisherfolk filed a suit against the IFC in Indian courts and later in the US also, but failed. The organization refused to take responsibility for the disaster their money caused. They argue that it's not their responsibility. But isn't it fair to hold the funders responsible when the entire money they had given as loan caused the entire disaster?
You look at any of the projects, starting from Narmada, whether it's Tata Mundra, whether it's privatization of power sector, which was ushered in the 90s by the World Bank, and the mess which has kind of created in the country because of such things. So holding World Bank accountable means that holding them responsible for the consequences which has happened. Now, World Bank just kind of walked away, right? I mean, there is no kind of conversation even about who is responsible behind this. So holding somebody responsible for the consequences of what they have done is what we mean by holding account.
And now the international funding is not only for specific projects, but they are also for formulating policies like poverty eradication, economic growth, and so on. Here, funding is for what the World Bank or any such organization thinks are right for a particular region or a country. It's a policy decision, and World Bank and such institutions are influencing it. What can the people do if they don't subscribe to the idea which World Bank or the government subscribe and they demand a course correction? Do they have any chance?
The thing with the development policy loans is the impacts are not immediately known. They could have large impacts on our social security policies, on the way the legislation in the country is changed. So how do you then monitor these development policy loans, and how do you bring them under the purview of inspection panel?
The World Bank's involvement in a project, knowing about their policies, developing a complaint, reaching out to the inspection panel, everything, the onus is on the communities. And most of them have never been told by the World Bank or anybody that we are coming and we are funding. So unless and until you change the onus to the inspection panel, where inspection panel should have the power to kind of investigate suo motu, it's not going to kind of change. You can't kind of wait until the communities know about it, learn about it, and then take somebody's help to write in a language and form which is understood by the inspection panel and meet the eligibility criteria. That's like a long shot.
In modern India, policy decisions are getting more and more pro-rich, where big projects are celebrated or even worshipped. The social or environmental costs seem to be immaterial. The governments also don't care about its impacts on the people and communities. After 30 years, even the Narmada project, that was eventually completed without the World Bank aid, is considered a success story.
Medha Patkar shot to fame with her Narmada Bachao Andolan, opposing the raising of the height of the Sardar Sarovar Dam. She and a coterie of activists, NGOs, leftist intellectuals, along with a section of the media, ran a campaign against the project by instigating the poor and vulnerable people. Even the World Bank, which had earlier agreed to fund the project, refused to give loan, citing environmental concerns. In May 2017, Narmada waters reached the parched regions of Kutch. On September 15, 2019, the Sardar Sarovar Dam reached full reservoir levels of 138.68 meters for the first time, becoming a moment of pride for Gujaratis. And finally, on 6th July 2022, the waters of Narmada reached Modkuba, the village that marks the tail end of Kutch Branch Canal, proving Medha Patkar wrong.
After submerging very fertile land in Nimad in Madhya Pradesh, after submerging lush forest in Maharashtra and Gujarat, you taking water to kind of arid areas in Rajasthan, desert areas, you think that is a success? I mean, I don't know. Is it a success when you have submerged the houses of thousands of people, have not been able to kind of rehabilitate all of them properly? You have a dam which the Prime Minister goes and inaugurate, you put a tallest statue there, you call it a success? I mean, I think we need to have different yardstick for success.
So everything boils down to one issue. What's really development? And what's the well-being of the people mean? When everything else gets blurred in the frenzy war cry for development, we need better mechanisms to see things in context. Make a level-headed cost-benefit analysis at least. Think about the affected communities, not only for the World Bank or such similar international financial institutions, but for the governments and the banks in our country. May better sense prevail. That's all from us. Goodbye till we meet again.